All right, guys, we're live, and I'm very excited about this next guest I have on the show today, Faria Ibrahim, and she is the owner of Hudson Edge Real Estate. Faria is an absolute champion. She owns and manages over, or close to, or over at this point, $100 million in real estate. And I think probably one of the best things that they do and that she does and her team does is they really take non performers and turns them into winners. And she's actually arguably the most fashionable commercial real estate investor on the planet. And she also owns her own clothing boutique. She is multidimensional. Faria, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for the kind words. It was a lovely
Absolutely.
intro.
Absolutely. It's all deserved. Before we get started and before you go into talking about, who you are and what you do, because I do want you to go into that because it's important. People need to hear your story. Why, you know, you have this you have this beam, I feel like, of light. You have an aura about you. And I've seen it because I like to think I have a little touch of it, but I've come in contact with you, and I feel like you're able to attract like a laser beam the things that you want, and maybe that's investors, that's real estate deals, that's money, that's it's relationships. Am I right by thinking that? Do you feel like you have something special?
Um, I don't know about aura, but I guess so. I guess it's something that others can tell me whether or not I do. But I can't say I don't. I can't say I'm not blessed to be able to attract those though.
I believe it. I think you have it. You got it. I know you. It's not. I think I know. I know you do. But I also think it comes from a focus that you have. Like you can kind of tell that this person's absolutely focused, or is it obsessed? Do you think you're obsessed, or do you think you're focused, or do you think you're both?
Borderline obsessed,
I
I
love
would
it.
say.
I love
Yeah,
it.
definitely.
I love it. No, and I really believe that. I believe that for this to be a winner in this game, because there's so many different directions you can get pulled in, right? And and that's one of the things I want to talk to you about is with what Hudson Edge is looking at when you're looking at deals. And again, guys, Faria is a commercial real estate investor. She owns her own brokerage. She's also a real estate. I mean, obviously a real estate investor, but she is not. She's very familiar with being a realtor as well. Do you think being a realtor or being like having that brokerage helps you kind of talk to other brokers? Do you think that's a big advantage that you have over other investors?
So just to correct, I actually don't have a brokerage yet.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, I do have my license in New York and New
License.
Jersey.
That's what I'm sorry. Yes,
Correct.
that's what I
It
mean.
is it's hung under other brokerage right now. So I it definitely does give you an edge. However, I don't think you necessarily need it. I don't focus on the realtor side. The reason I chose to get my license is because I was getting a lot of leads that wasn't necessarily fitting my criteria, because we're always marketing and then we're getting a lot of leads. And the ones that was not fitting my criteria, I was kind of referring them out to others anyway. So I just figured it just makes sense for me to get the license and get some referral fees from those. So that's really why I chose to get my license. However, I don't think you necessarily need it, but if you do have it, I think it certainly gives you an edge.
Okay, so for the people listening, guys, you don't need a license. It may be a benefit potentially, but you definitely don't need to be a licensed real estate agent to be, or even a licensed commercial real estate agent to do commercial deals. I think a lot of the licensed commercial agents have never even done a real estate commercial deal, at least from my experience, my limited experience. So when you got started, so you're listen, you should be a computer engineer. What are you doing here? You should be at a computer or Silicon Valley or even because after that, right, you get your MBA and then you go and you start day trading. You should either be in Silicon Valley or Wall Street. What are you doing here?
Well, so coming from our background, like Southeast Asian, unless you probably heard this, unless you go to like law school or medical school or engineering school, it's pretty much like you're not doing much. So I did go, I did go to, the engineering school just kind of to satisfy that, um, I guess that whole, what would I say, like more to satisfy my parents, really. Like,
Got it.
they just needed that, or they
Sure.
just kind of wanted that. And I just felt like, hey, it's always a backup. Why not?
Okay.
But it was never my passion. I
Did you
was
know
passionate.
right away? Did you know right away
I
that
knew
that's
right
just not
away.
something you wanted to do?
I knew before I even kind of started, honestly. But I wanted to give it a shot anyway, and if I was
Sure.
gonna do it, I wanted to do it a challenging one just to prove myself, really. And then I really wanted to be in fashion. So
Mm.
that's what my passion was. And then as soon as or actually when I was in school, I already started on my passion line and all that. So I did that, and I was kind of fascinating with the day trading world too. So I got
Yeah,
into
so
that a little
why?
bit.
Why was that fascinating to you?
Say exactly why, but one of the reasons though was I was, I could do it from home, and I actually had my children very like right out of college. So it was important to me. I did I did not want to go in, and I wanted to be obviously home with my children at that time. So that was one of the things I could have done while at home. So that's how I got started on that. And I
Okay, got
started
it.
kind of looking into the real estate as well, world as well. I kind of I always knew I wanted to be in real estate. I just didn't know where or how to start.
Do you think the day trading allowed you to be better at looking at the numbers when you're analyzing a deal, or is that not
I don't think it really helped with
crossover?
analyzing.
Okay.
One thing it did help with is the risk factor, because you do
Mm.
have to be, one of the classes when you take, or one of the, yeah, it is actually one of the classes that you have to take when you learn from day trading that I went to, because I just did a weekend class. One of the things they teaches you is like controlling your emotion when the line starts going down and you start losing your money. You really have to know where to stop or how to control that. So that did help. That does train your emotion. Like if I'm in a risky deal, or like maybe that did help me with taking riskier deals right now.
Yeah, I think there's that level of like discomfort that you have to be okay with, and you have to
Right.
familiarize yourself with that, right? I don't think a lot of people can handle that, Faria.
That is true. I do jump into deals a lot, especially in the beginning. I think I've gotten a little bit more safer now, but in the beginning, I've kind of jumped into a lot of riskier deals than I do now, certainly.
Yeah, and I got to give you credit because for a number of reasons, but a lot of it has to do with your confidence. Where do you get that from? Because it makes sense. You're obviously a very highly educated. You are you've come from that background of like my work ethic is going to speak for itself. But do you think it's because you stuck with things even though you necessarily didn't want to do them, but you finished it out? Do you think that is a hidden confidence booster? Like you had your own personal victories that gave you that confidence to jump into things now?
I think it's more of I don't give myself excuses. So that's
Mm,
one thing because one thing, like, as being a female in commercial real estate is very male dominated industry. And I don't like, I kind of sometimes I do have to work extra harder, but I don't think I give myself, or I separate myself, or I give myself that excuse that, oh, it didn't happen because of so and so or this and that. It's like, okay, where did I go wrong? And let me fix it. It's not giving, excuses like, hey, it didn't happen because I was a female, or this, or because I'm a mother, or I don't know. Like, I just hear a lot of excuses from, and that's not just from females. I'm just saying, I just hear a lot of excuses from a lot of investors, a lot of realtors or whatnot. Oh, it didn't happen because I'm this and that. And I just feel like, you just can't give yourself the excuses, because
guys, go back and listen to that. Go back and listen to that because that is so important. The no excuses mentality. And it can be a way out for people when they go, well, I am a mother. I've had, or I'm a stay-at-home mother in this case, and I have to, be here. And oh, by the way, this is a male-dominated industry. But what I think, and I think what you can do is you can use it to your advantage. Because a lot of these people, they have no clue on some of those aspects. And I think when people see, and I'm speaking for myself, right? But if I saw somebody who got through those things and continues to do them, that's where you go, this person's a winner. Because it's so, you see so many people not go that way, and they'll use that as an excuse. And it's a valid excuse, by the way, where you can see how people go, yeah, I get it. You can say that back to somebody, go, yeah, I get it. It's tough. But because you do, I think that gives you the edge that people go, wow, a champion. Want to talk to her, right? I want to be around this person. And I think that's the aura. I think that's where the laser of attraction comes from, is from that, because people can sense that, but also because you already done it, and deep down that you got through some shit. So it's like, bring it on.
Exactly.
I,
You're right on point.
I love it. I love it. So, all right, going back, so you get your computer engineering degree, you get your MBA, you're doing the day trading. Did you have? I'm really
Actually did
fascinated
my
by.
MBA afterwards. I went back after, so I finished my college.
Okay.
I had my children right up the bat. Um, and then I did day trading and fashion kind of simultaneously at the same
Oh,
time.
okay.
And then I started in real estate. I was doing I was doing residential. I'm still doing some residential. And then I went back and finished my MBA. It was funny
Okay.
because I was taking my dog, because MBA classes are all in the evening. So I was taking my girls and they would sit in the back.
Insane.
But it is what it is. But so yeah.
That's another thing that you kind of put yourself out there. Like, that's tough to do, bringing your daughters to the class, because people are looking, going, "What the heck is going on?" And you're like, "I don't care. I'm getting the job done."
Do it.
I love it. So take me back to your first deal. So take me back to your first commercial deal. Um, Really quick though, even before that, what brought you to the commercial side of real estate? Because obviously residential, you can have a ton of success. There's especially in where you are. Because Faria, where are you guys for the audience listening?
I'm in New Jersey.
You're in New Jersey, right? So why commercial real estate, and then go into your first transaction commercially?
Sure. Um, I got into the residential in just to get into the commercial. So I always wanted to be on the development side, frankly. Like I wanted to do the development in New York. That was ultimately what I wanted to do. And I haven't done development in New York yet, but ultimately that's the goal.
It's coming.
But
It's coming.
in order to get there, I just didn't know where to start in the commercial in the beginning. So I started in residential. But I actually started in commercial after I met Scott, which but before that, I was trying to like find different networking groups that other investors that might be in commercial or whatnot, and I just didn't have a lot of opportunity in Jersey that I could find to do that. So once I started being part of the group, that really helped me to kind of open up my eyes and learn the language of commercial real estate, because that's really important, especially when you're talking to brokers, when you're talking to sellers. It's the ultimate like the technique is same, but the language is different. So that really did help. As far as my first transaction, I actually found it right off of LoopNet, and it was in Jersey, so it was a little retail deal, not really big one, but I was just looking into like all the websites like Praxi, LoopNet, even Craigslist or whatnot, Facebook marketing, and I found that deal. I went, I went and met the seller and kind of started negotiating numbers. Then I brought in a partner from Commercial Academy actually that did partner with me in that deal, and I ended up having some finder's equity, as well as I did put in some fund to it. But it was a single tenant that leased back. The seller actually leased back, and the idea was to subdivide it, have multi-tenants, and ultimately, the value we bought it for 900,000, put in really nothing into it, probably about 30 something, and it would value over $2 million had
Wow.
we completely filled it out. But once we finished the work as far as like doing the subdivision, because it took a little bit longer, and then we were getting a lot of traction from tenants, but then COVID hit. So we actually found, we were just on market for lease, but we found its owner user that wanted to purchase it. So we ended up selling it vacant for 1.6, which is not bad, but at the same time, it was, if we held it, we could have done better probably, but when you make money, it's never a loss. But
You mean
we
like
just
a,
figured
you mean
we just were in uncertainty during COVID, right? So we ended up selling
exactly.
it. Yeah.
Exactly. Guys, did you just hear that? I mean, she just kind of skipped over the fact that they made a quick, not quick, I'm sure there was, but a quick, 500 to $600,000. Okay, so I want to dig into this a bit. So, Faria, you first off, you talk about your, you educated yourself on this, right? It's really nice that you actually knew a little bit beforehand when you were getting into real estate that you wanted the development side. A lot of people, maybe not have that, but she knew, and that's a big part of this is kind of being focused. Like I said in the beginning, she's focused, she's obsessed, she's a little bit of both, and that's why she's a winner. But she finds the deal through LoopNet, where everybody says is the graveyard of deals. But I like what you did, and I want to really talk about this, is that you talk directly to the seller.
Yes.
I think a lot of people don't are scared of that. They think that well, I need to talk to their broker, or oh geez, I got no, guys, you got to go right after it and talk to the person that's going to make the decision. Obviously, that allowed you to get the job done, right? Do you believe like, hey, do you, I mean, did they say they had some people reaching out to them? But it was probably a lot of brokers who wanted to relist it. It wasn't someone looking to buy. Is that fair to say?
That is fair to say. I mean, I think one of the reasons they probably haven't gotten a lot of traction is because the picture, like, the seller posted the picture. It was really absolutely the worst, terrible picture you can post. Like I scrolled through it first time and I'm like, eh. And then I'm like, I know the address, and the good thing is this was in my backyard. So I knew the market. So that's, somebody who's starting off, it's always great to start in your backyard. Even though, I've been in several states, but my first deal was here. And that helped, that helped that I knew that, this address is good. It's a really signalized intersection that had 50,000 traffic count. So the visibility was incredible. And when you're looking at retail, visibility is very, very important. So I knew those things that, they all pencils out. It's a matter of the number and then the lease terms because the seller was going to lease back. So yeah, I just went for it. I literally I found it like 3 a.m. I called them up next morning, I don't know, 9 o'clock. I went and saw it at like same day and it worked out.
Work ethic out of this world work ethic. I mean, you think about it because, you know, you're up at 3, you're looking at deals, you're calling them the next morning. But here's a slick trick that she just said, guys, if you're not listening. And by the way, you should be really, really focus in on this because this was a really slick trick. And she almost bypassed this, and that would have been a huge loss. She said the bad pictures. So when you're on LoopNet and you see people, or you're on, the MLS, or you're on Zillow, whatever, and you see bad pictures, that smells like amateur. Okay, that just smells amateur, and that smells like a deal can be made. So that is a huge thing that she just said. Look just for stuff that doesn't seem right. A missing picture, missing information, just sloppiness, because that just sounds like bad management. It sounds like probably the owner operator doesn't really have it together, and so that's where deals are made, are through those kinds of things. So that was huge. I'm really glad she said that. So, and oh, by the way, she was able to get, it sounds like you said a lease back. So I'm sorry, that wasn't any seller finance, but they're leasing it back to you after you bought it. Okay, so there's your tenant right there. Is that right?
It is. It was a little bit more than that. We did get seller financing on it also. So
Awesome.
it was kind of like everything in my first deal. I had a lease back, I had a seller financing. I mean, the terms were okay. And then he the good part was that he was willing to sign a 10-year lease, even though he may or may not have stayed that long. That way we could have refinanced.
Oh, I love that.
So yeah, there was a few things that worked out in our favor in that.
And because
You
fortune
have to
favors
be a
the
nice seller.
bold. Yeah, Fortune
It doesn't
50.
work out that easy for, I mean, I wouldn't say it was easy, but it was a lot of negotiation obviously went on, but not every seller is willing to play ball. So I wouldn't get discouraged if that doesn't happen for every deal for everyone.
Yeah, and but guys, you deserve the wins when they come, right? Because it's. I was just thinking about this. I saw this video, Faria, and maybe you have something to say, or maybe you just agree or disagree. But when we take these no's, right? Because guys, this is a no. It's a heavy no business. When you're taking the no's and then you get to that yes, those no's still equal out when you get that yes to money. So when you get that no, just know that okay, that was money. That was a closed deal, and I'm getting paid on that in a way because I need to get 99 more of these so that I can get to that 100th where it's the yes. So that no is really not a no. It's just your next step to the yes. And if you think like that, you're gonna be fine. You're gonna be what are your thoughts on that, Faria? Like how many
I,
no's do you have to take, right?
I totally agree. It's not always, I think every note, like you just said, it gets one step closer to the next yes. So I 100% agree on that. And it's a matter of not taking it personal. The seller doesn't probably know you. It's not a personal thing.
It's not personal, guys. It's never
It's business.
personal. It's business, and people understand that. So, all right. And one of the things that Faria said as well, and I really believe this, if you are looking to get into something that's like a commercial real estate or something that's just new in general, you want to be a part or you want to surround yourself with people who are doers, who are action takers. So she had mentioned Scott. Scott Shield is the owner, the man in charge of the commercial academy, and it's a great team. I'm also a part of that, and doing this podcast is my own way of learning from champions like Faria. But it's a great group of people. So find a group of people who want to see everybody win. You really want to have a win-win group, and that's what this is. Because as Faria said, she finds the deal, and she brought somebody in from that group, and now I'm sure you guys have done plenty of deals together from that point on. So,
Yeah.
all right. So you do that deal, you get this unbelievable momentum because now, hey, I did what I said I was going to do. I'm doing commercial deals. It closed. I just made a ton of money. So now what happens? What happens next? And then where do you want this thing to go?
So going back to your, what you just said, surround yourself, Tony Robbins always says proximity is power. So, that's so important to surround yourself with the right, like-minded people. So that I totally agree with. Um, your first deal is always the hardest deal, especially in commercial real estate, because brokers can be, very tough on you, especially, because they don't get paid until you close. So, it's understandable. They don't want to spend a lot of time with somebody who's amateur, who's not going to close ultimately or doesn't have the capability. So it's difficult until you have your first deal or something under your portfolio to be able to, not to be able to talk to the brokers, but, being able to be the first one on their list to get the deals. So,
Yes.
that's as soon as you close on one and, you have partnerships who has other deals, it really becomes a lot easier for you to speak to the brokers that, this is what I'm looking for. And every time I have a deal that I don't want to do, now I'm getting better on my criteria. So the more fine-tuned criteria you have, the easier it is for you to get the deals. So that's something, even I knew I wanted to be in development. But when I started in commercial, I've tried all categories. I've tried, many different states. I'm currently 9 states, but, I'm trying to stay closer to home now because my girls are older. I want to spend more time with them. But I kind of needed to navigate through everything. Like I've done mobile home parks, I've done multifamily mixed use. Besides office, I've done pretty much all category, which is great. But at the same time, when you're doing so many things and you're not expert in any, one field, and the brokers get a little bit confused too, like, okay, is this your category or is that your category? So now I know I have a very defined category or very defined buying criteria that I can send to the brokers. So as you as you're doing more and more, it's almost like a process of elimination of like, knowing this is not for me, or I did not want to do larger multifamilies like, I did in the beginning. I've gone through the whole due diligence process and realized this is not really something I personally want to manage. So now, my criteria is retail and industrial, and that's what I would like to stick to, and of course, development. So it's a matter of, just starting that momentum once you start with your first one. And then, as you start underwriting more and more deals, you just figure out what's right for you. And the sooner you can tell the brokers, you can tell the sellers, or you can start marketing for the specific criteria, and deal flow starts coming on.
That's excellent. It really is, guys. If you listen to that again, because I think what separates investors who can make this thing a full-time thing and explode their growth is the focus. And Faria focused in on creating that buy box so that it is clear when something comes across her desk, she knows, but also at the same time, she is able to explain that, or she can show a broker, hey, here's what I want. And if it doesn't fit this, I just don't have the capability or the time to look at all the other crap. So if this checks, if these boxes are checked, I'm going to not only buy it, but like I'm going to close on it, right? I'm going to look at it. I'm going to buy it as long as we can come to an agreement. I think that's one of the toughest things for a lot of new investors
It
is
is.
figuring out what their buy box is.
It really is. The first like 2.5 years with Commercial Academy, I was, I see somebody else doing this. I'm like, oh, that's, I was going for every shiny object, and the numbers look good, and you want to go for it, but that might not be the right thing for you, because it's probably in California and I'm out here, and you have to have boots in ground. There's a lot of things, a lot of factors that's important. So you need to figure out, anybody who's starting off needs to kind of understand, like, where do you want to start? Pick a couple of states, pick a couple of criterias, and get focused and just get best at that. And then you can always expand from that. But I think, if you start doing it too many category in the beginning, it just becomes overwhelming, and, you can really lose track of things.
Yeah, I think that's one of the, for just being candid, that's one of the things that Matt and I, my partner, we're kind of facing is we're facing an identity crisis right now where it's like, do we want to do something just because that's what's cool and hot right now? Like, is that something we really want to? Because hey, time, there's only so much time. Are you going to like, hey, are you going to enjoy managing and owning a mobile home park? Is that something that you really want to do? Because you can do whatever the hell you want to do. Like if you want to own the retail or, some of these larger, then you can, but that you can't be going back and forth on the different things.
You
Because
can.
that's what that's right. Because that's where the focus problem comes into play.
It does. And, there are very different tenant mix. Your tenant mix for a mobile home park, and then you have a retail that has like Starbucks and, I don't know, CVS and Bank of America. It's a very different, like, that's corporate tenant you're dealing with, and it's a very, affordable housing. It's a very different tenant mix, and you have to be able to really communicate with both category. And it's not, some people are great at doing everything, but that's not me. I prefer just, focusing on one. And yeah, and you do have to figure out, are you doing it just because it's cool and everybody's doing it, or it's because you're really passionate about it? And
Mm.
that's what I was saying in the beginning. I'm like, oh, this sounds cool. Or this, and then I kind of realized, well, yeah, but it's not something, the work that goes into it is something I'm not passionate about, and I don't want to do that. So it's just a matter of figuring that out. And it takes time. I don't think you can really get into something and just know next day, hey, I'm just going to do this. I'm not saying don't try it. Maybe you think you like industrial, and maybe you try retail and realize that that's probably for you. So yeah, it's okay to try it, but I think you really need to just figure out what you like really truly, and what you're passionate about, and what goes into the work, because every category does have a different, like I said, different tenant mix, different type of work that goes into finding those tenants. So it's a matter of, are you willing to do that work?
I love that. And I think she just said something, guys, that is just so true because because this is a tough game. And for you to really continue to push through, you got to have passion for that industry. I,
So
right? So like if you don't have passion for, retail, and talking to and negotiating leases with a Starbucks, which would be great. But if that's something you don't want to do, and affordable housing is your passion for, because hey, that's just something that you've seen that you want to, be a part of, you got to figure that out. But I also agree with you that for some people it may be because you just have to experiment a little bit with the different other industries, and maybe that's you LPing on something, maybe that's you putting some
Yeah,
money into a deal, right?
yeah,
um, I heard something that was kind of interesting, Farah, and I wanted your take on it. I think a lot of people who want to get into this business, one of the things that they can do is they can put money into a deal,
mhm,
and at the same time they can learn how that potentially, if you have a decent relationship with the operator, kind of how the business works. Do you think that's something that people can do to get a little bit more information?
absolutely. I mean, I did go in LP in one of my deal in the beginning, and my one of the thing I wanted from the GP, and I had a great relationship with the GP, but you kind of have to put that out there in the beginning that I want to be part of the ride. Maybe you get a little bit less on the return, or I was willing to do that. I'm like, I didn't really care about exact, how much equity I'm getting, but I wanted to make sure I'm kind of included every step of the way, because for me it was more of investment on my education rather than just getting 2 more % on the equity.
I love that. And I think that's what people, and it's something that I need to remember. I think anybody listening needs to remember is, first off, you want to set that up in the beginning, right? You're not going to go into the deal being, hey, I want to get on this call with you and the property manager. That's
Yeah,
probably not
because
going to work out.
usually we don't, when we have LPs in a lot of our deals, we don't necessarily want to, schedule every call with the LPs. But if we know that that's what they wanted, so we just want to have that out there in the beginning.
That's it. Set the expectations in the beginning because you don't want any surprises. Your GP doesn't want those surprises. And again, it may not something they want to do. They might just say, no, I'm sorry, we don't do that. But
Yeah.
certainly if right. I mean, that's fair. It's just, hey, this is the business, and you're just an equity, a limited partner. That's why you're not the GP. But hey, um, anywhere that Farah, because this was awesome, and I want to be cognizant of your time. So I know we have to wrap up here, but is there any piece of advice, I guess, that you'd give somebody who may be just starting off and they're thinking commercial real estate? Is there a piece of advice that you would say to somebody that is just starting off?
Find a mentor.
Mm,
Find a mentor is the first thing. Find, and start networking with as many commercial investors possible, because one of the things, especially let's say you want to come in with no money down, and we always talk about going into deals with no money down, that's great, but here's what we tell new investors: either find the deal or find the money, right? So let's you have new investors who would like not to put any money down, but then you have a great source of deals. Bring the deal to somebody who is doing something similar, and get finders equity. One of the things that was very important to me in the beginning, I didn't, when I was finding deals, but I wasn't sure, if that's what I wanted to, or that's the type of deal I wanted in my portfolio yet. I still wanted to start getting equity rather than getting finder's fee, especially a lot of wholesalers. You already, even if you're coming from residential world and you're doing the marketing for wholesaling anyway, and you might get some commercial deal, um, try to get equity instead of finder's fee, or get the finder's fee and put it right back into the deal as your equity, because that really helps as far as you building your portfolio. And going back to what I was saying earlier, for brokers or other sellers, as soon as you have something on your portfolio, that really changes their attitude towards you. It's it's funny sometimes, but it's like, it really does. You can really see the difference.
I love
So
that.
that really helps. Just start building your portfolio, even if it's 1%, of a deal, right? Let's say you find a retail strip that's, I don't know, worth $5 million, and you're really putting no money down, but then you find other investors to really be able to close it, but you just get 1% as a finder's equity, or 5%, whatever it is, depending on size and whatnot. But even 1 or 5% doesn't matter if it's on your portfolio. The broker doesn't ask you, what percentage you have of the deal. It's on
Right.
your portfolio, and learn the process from the who's actually operating.
That's amazing. And guys, what really, and what I took from that is think long term here. Yeah, you can get that chunk of cash, but you know how much more relationship rapport building you'll have with that GP syndicator is if you say, you know what, I want to put this into your deal because I believe in
Yeah.
you. Do you think that person's not going to bend over backwards now when you have a call with them, right?
And it feels respect for you.
Absolutely. And oh, by the way, there's confidence now that you're an owner, not just
Yeah.
somebody who can make money. That anybody can make money in different businesses, guys, but being an owner and being a part of that and creating that momentum. Golly, Faria, this has been a great show.
Thank you.
I appreciate you taking the time, and I know everybody that's listening is so very, very thankful that you came on and you took the time. Is there anywhere that if people have questions or if they have a deal, and it maybe it fits that buy box, which I'll put in the show notes, is if that's something that we want to talk about, maybe we will, maybe we won't. But is there a way that people can find you to maybe talk to
Or
you
you can
about
send
New
me
Jersey real estate?
emails.
What's that?
You can share my email.
Okay, I will. Wow. Okay. Unbelievable. That's amazing. So you just got a connection with someone who has over $100 million with real estate. So they probably know what they're doing, but don't spam her. Just if you have something that is actual legitimate or a real question, I'm sure she'll take the time. But again,
I'll share with you, Marie, my buy box,
oh,
and
wow.
that
Okay,
will
great.
make actually more sense.
Okay, let's do that. So she's going to give you guys the buy box of what she's looking for. And I know that she'll take the time if you guys have some questions in regards to if there's a deal that you have and you want to bring it to her. But again, I want to be cognizant of Faria's time. She's very busy. Again, everybody, thanks for listening. Faria, thanks for coming on. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, guys, see you
Okay,
later.
thanks.